Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still here after all these years, after all these tears I shed. I'm still here and I'm walking this earth like I should be. There was days that I didn't know if I would be. Yeah, yeah. Now I stand tall with my feet in the ground and my head in the clouds. 'Cause I'm still here like I should be. Yeah, yeah, like I knew that I could be. Here we go, here we go. I'm still here. I'm here.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I've started doing this like action sign, and I'm the editor now, so I
Do you keep it in there?
no.
You should keep it in there.
All right, maybe.
Or we should get one of those things. Click. It
Yeah.
has the numbers going on it.
That'd be very exciting.
Sometimes. A little excitement's good.
Yeah. It is so windy.
Averaging about 30-mile-an-hour winds for the last 2 days, which is just... And they're okay days. You know, they're spring, kind of chilly days in Michigan, which we're just trying to get out of the hell of winter,
Yes.
to put it nicely. And it's nice. You're like, oh, it's in the 50s. Oh, it's 60 degrees. It's 30-mile-an-hour wind, and it feels like it's 30. It's painful.
I agree. And I just keep kind of telling all the trees in our yard to hold strong.
Yeah, I was worried last night.
Because
We live in the woods.
we have some really big trees that
Yeah.
could
ruin our day.
that could
for sure.
ruin our day. Yes, that could test our insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Ivy is with us and is panting, so you might be able to hear her today too. That's fun.
Just a bunch of excitement going on.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the topic.
Of the emotional weight of living with metastatic breast cancer. And I have been feeling it lately. And I keep trying to kind of part it out and figure out what's going on. And I don't have any answers, but I thought maybe we could just kind of talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So when, this emotional weight, what is that?
For me, a lot of times it looks like inability to take action, but what I end up finding myself thinking about is like everything just feels heavy. Like it just feels like there's a lot going on. Not just with like our world. I think if you live in the United States, it's challenging. I think metastatic breast cancer adds a whole nother layer to that in a way that you feel maybe that much more insecure. I mean, we're talking about, lack of funding for research. We're talking about losses to, Medicare, Medicaid. We're talking about, but that's what's being talked about. And I honestly have been trying. I don't watch the news. I stay away from that. But with cancer that you're just one step closer to that destroying your life. Like those are things that I think we all like to have as safety nets. But when you have NBC, it's a safety net you need, right?
And the hope is that they are one step closer to curing this cancer.
Right.
Or a treatment that is much less invasive, or a treatment that cuts things in half, or a longer term treatment, or all of these. I know they're working on all of them in all cancers, especially, metastatic cancer. And obviously with the fear or the reality of loss of funding, a a lot of that will pause.
Yeah.
Is the reality.
Yeah. I mean, I just did a podcast on somebody else's podcast. And like we were looking back on my treatment. Treatment has changed a lot in 25 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and so it's not just research
based on findings of all of those years.
All of those years, exactly.
And researches and
right.
clinical trials. And, yeah.
But when I look at emotional weight, it's not just that. It's kind of like all of these layers. So there's the layers of what's going on in the world. There's the layers of how you feel personally, maybe what's going on with your own treatment, just, you know, your own health. There's also this layer of like, well, there's this, I don't know how to say it even, a layer of like this expected gratefulness that you should have. Mm-hmm. And it's like, for me, it feels like, okay, so I don't get to reach for more because I have metastatic breast cancer and I'm alive. So I don't know. I just, it's a challenge. And I think it's something that it just feels like when I think about like the Maslow's hierarchy thing, and we've talked about this a little bit on here too, just like what is that cancer pyramid and how often do I go back to the base where the base is really just I'm alive. Survival. Mm-hmm. Right? And what are the supports that you can put in place to to move up that, but also how do you protect yourself and, from kind of the outside to be able to keep moving up,
mm-hmm. Speaking to, what you were talking about a minute ago, I mean, what do you think puts you in that I should just be happy to be alive mode? Is it discussing it? Because like you just did on that last podcast, and is it the current thinking of it, or do you find?
No, I think it's maybe the opposite of that. Oh, okay. In terms of, I guess maybe discussing it brings it up, but when people suggest it to me, in terms of, well, but you're still here, right? Like for the whole podcast, it's like, yeah, but like you don't have to consider a person without cancer doesn't literally go throughout their day and go, as often, I'm still here. And
well, I think that's where a big part of this difference is. It's one thing to say I'm still here. It's another thing for somebody else to say, but you're still here.
Yeah.
There's the big difference. You get to say I'm still here, not but or anything like that. Other people would use that in that, yeah, but you're still here.
I agree with that. I think honestly it's some of the weight really comes from the fact that I want to be living at one level, and just the honest response is that sometimes it's too hard. Mm-hmm. It's exhausting to live mm-hmm. with this and try to be normal, right? Mm-hmm. It's exhausting to have to consider things, or maybe have outside forces come at you in a way that they don't come at other people, right? Like mm-hmm. the talk of cuts, or I don't think feel as personal to other people.
No, it doesn't feel personal to me at all. And I'm your husband.
Right.
It makes me angry, and I realize because, I go to one, when I hear about these, I think of your oncologist because she's more than just an oncologist. She's a friend of ours. And I know because I've seen her so ecstatic when she gets funding for this treatment that she knows, even I would use the word likely, has a breakthrough at the end of it. And I've seen her just over the moon with excitement. And now to think that the money that she's currently using to think that could get pulled, or that she wouldn't be able to do some of the research she's doing now, it makes me angry, but not nearly from the same level as you.
Yeah. I think there's also just this thought of like, I do try to live from like, what can I control? What can't I control? And right now it feels like I can't control anything.
Yeah. Right.
And so the answer to that is like, ugh, so what am I doing? How do I move forward with that? Right. Yeah. And I know, of course, you can, there are things I can control. Of course, I'm, going to always go back to nutrition and meditation and listening to a podcast that's helpful and all of those things. It just feels like sometimes you're putting your finger in a hole of a bucket that has 100 holes, yeah. Right? And so then the answer is like, okay, does self-care or preservation look like rest or something different? Where is the line between like, no, I'm going to push through and no, I'm going to take a break, and I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. And for some things, of course, you can't, it's not like you can disappear from the world by any means. But I think it is important to recognize that when you're living with cancer, you're living with a huge emotional weight that people don't see in terms of, consideration of your health and your what's coming next and your finances. And just, it feels sometimes so precarious. It feels like it wouldn't take a whole lot sometimes for it all to fall apart. Mm-hmm. And we all know what it feels like to fall apart. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to have to be there again. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a snowball effect of all of the things you just talked about. You didn't even mention, which is what we started the show with, the weather matters.
Yeah.
It literally it's all of these things. Obviously, anxiety is real, and we all deal with it. And depression, and I'm not talking necessarily about clinical depression, but we all know when uncontrollables, these things we can't control in our lives, spring up, that's when our anxiety, which can lead to depression, we are the most vulnerable from that because it's the uncontrollable. When we talk about controllable stressors or controllable things in our lives, it usually doesn't lead to that depression state because we can go through this anxiety of not dealing with things or dealing with things, but then we usually, for lack of better words, do something about it because we can. Yeah. But there are things you have zero control over.
Right.
Like politics. Yeah. Like the weather. Like things that go wrong and your car engine blows up.
Right.
You have no control over a lot of these things. And it's hard. Yeah. And then you throw cancer on top of that.
Yeah. And cancer in a way that a lot of times, like, we all look pretty normal and people forget about it, and that's fine, but it is just this extra burden of, and it puts more pieces into the puzzle of all of that, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't think that I have a huge amount of anxiety, but I think this is anxiety, like over... again, the base for me, honestly, is political right now. It is those things of like, I have 4 years of this. Hopefully it'll get better. But hopefully, I just feel like, from an impact standpoint, self-preservation, there's a lot of things that could be harmful to. And
that's where I get into this perceived part. Nothing has negatively affected us thus far.
No.
It's the fear of and the knowledge of the things that are thought of that are going on in America right now and what that would equate to. That is anxiety. That is the definition of. And I honestly think it might be one of the only things in your life that causes you to really ramp it up. Now, having said that, you've been stable for 20 some years. Obviously that would ramp it up.
Sure.
A progression in your cancer, which a lot of people do experience, that's going to ramp it up. I think it's at a similar level for you.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the other thing that comes with it is there's been some relationships that have been impacted by this. And the hardest thing for me about that is that I don't understand how the other people don't see how closely some of these things affect me. Mm-hmm. And again, I need Social Security, possibly disability. Medicare, Medicaid, like these things are huge things. Research is huge to me. All of that stuff is just really impactful. And yeah, you're right.
And that becomes very personal.
And it does become personal, and therefore I can't separate the two.
Nor should you.
But
the question is, okay, what tools do you have to not make it go away? Because the stressors don't go away.
Right.
That's the thing, is you can't make that stressor go away when you have no control about it. All we can do is inwardly, what can we do to make it better?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to make it go away.
Yeah.
What are some of those?
Yeah, so management is some of those, therapy. And literally, honestly, like I've been in and out of therapy a couple of times in the last couple of years. And I really thought I was like, yeah, I'm doing great. And then I'm just like, it kind of goes, whoop, or
Sure.
maybe.
And that wasn't untrue that you were doing great. That was true.
Absolutely true.
You were feeling up. But our life does this, and I'm the same way. I definitely have my peaks and valleys with that, and
right,
and we all do. I think that's human nature. I don't think anybody's up here all the time.
No, and also it's also sort of human nature that it feels like, man, one thing happens and then another and another and another, right? Like it's just like you said, that snowball effect that
Sure.
feels like a lot. So therapy is a possibility. Medication, which I've never accessed, but
helps a lot of people.
But helps a lot of people. And maybe that's, again, like this stuff that I can't control that I know is going to be with me for a long time. Yep. Maybe this is the time. Peer support, which, I agree with that. I think, I don't necessarily seek support from people with cancer. That's, again, I don't have a lot of people in the cancer world that are in the same shoes as I am. And that's okay. I don't feel like I necessarily
And you
need
don't
to.
seek that out either.
That's not something that is a big thing.
Would
for
be
me.
helpful for you. You feel
Yeah.
like.
No, the only, like, when I think about that, like, I have gotten involved in, a couple organizations, and I feel like I can give back and be helpful. Mm-hmm. So that does help me, and it does definitely give me, like, it fills me up to do that a little bit. So, and then...
and you do rely on peer support. Even like walking with friends is one of your most favorite things to do. That's honestly
my favorite therapy is walking with friends. I prefer I have a few friends, and it is honestly, that is the way that we get together. It is to go for a walk. And that is just hands down my favorite way to spend time with other people. And it feels really good to me.
It doesn't feel as good though when there's 30-mile-an-hour winds in your face.
Actually,
it's freezing.
I did walk with a friend yesterday, and like, honestly, like my hair was in my face the whole time.
I think it's just harder.
Well, it was kind of, and then again, we live in a rural area, and we were walking by her house, and there was a huge tractor with a huge trailer
full of
poop.
Yeah, because that's what they do right now.
And the roads are dusty. Like, I was like, we're getting dirt poop bath and he passed us like 4 times. So anyway, Welcome to rural Michigan. But the last thing that is on here is self-compassion, and that's where I just am like, I'm my schedule right now, I have some time to be working on things, and I just can't get myself going. And it's kind of like, okay, some self-compassion, also some accountability, both. Like, what does that look like? How do I make that work? Because I do know, too, sometimes it is just okay, get rolling, and then it'll be there.
Something in motion, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. I think I just don't. I think the thing that is a little bit also of a challenge is that things come up when you don't expect them. You know, like you can't necessarily predict when you start, everything's going to feel heavy or what's going to.
I don't think you can predict it at all.
Right. So this feels like a time of year that I should be like kind of like really hitting my groove. My foot's feeling good, like really hitting like.
You're but then so weather dependent.
I am.
You are the most weather dependent human
affective disorder
on the
is a
face
thing.
of the earth. It absolutely is, and I feel it too. I'm not discounting that at all. Those of you that live in like Southern California and Arizona or Australia, you don't understand. But it is definitely real. But for you, it's more than just feeling ho hum. It's doing everything you can to kick your butt because it's real, you know, and I'm sure on a chemical level in your body it's real, not just I feel this way. That's one thing of saying no. Right. I think there's definitely a chemical difference that's going on internally in you on this type of weather / time of year compared to June.
Yeah,
there's just no doubt in my mind. I've been with you long enough, and I'm sure you could get that tested. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer for it is, but I'd definitely be willing to look into it. I think the other thing that comes with that, so you've got seasonal affective disorder, like sun. The other thing is allergies kick up right this time of year for me too. So like, it's just like. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to complain. You guys all have a lot on your plate, but sometimes it's like, this is where...
Don't you say you like spring?
I like, you know what? I like spring because I like the thought that summer's coming. And that summer's coming. I love the green on trees.
You need to stop saying you like spring.
Okay.
It's not true. I've been with you long enough, and I know you say it, but I think I have to stop it right here.
Well...
You like summer.
I like summer. Here's the other thing. Spring in Michigan, like the part I like is like 4 days long.
Okay.
The trees coming out being bright green.
Yep.
It happens like May
obviously
17th through the 21st. And then we're into summer. Like it takes a lot longer. It is not right now.
No.
You know, so.
You obviously like the flowers coming up.
I do.
And all of that. But because we live in the woods, we're behind everybody. So when everybody else is experiencing summer, we're kind of into that spring here, to be honest with you. We're behind everybody.
Well, yeah. We're totally off topic at this point.
Yeah, well, no, it's not off topic, though.
But also, we moved 2 hours north years ago, and I had no idea of the impact of 2 hours north. Turns out it matters. Seasons are shorter. So really what needs to happen for me to be like on my game is for us to probably move south again at some point and take many vacations that involve sun from
I think
November
you definitely would be a candidate of a monthly or every other month trip to sun.
Yeah.
You would function a lot better.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't want to poke holes or say things like this. You're not dealing with a depression.
No, no.
That's not what we're saying here.
It's heavy. It's just
it's heavy.
It's a heaviness. And that's what I think, that's where like really the emotional weight, like it feels like a heaviness. And it does feel like a little bit of everything. And then that base of cancer, right? That just is like, whoa. Maybe I'll just watch Netflix. You know?
Yeah, and what we're doing, we're seeking out things that make us happy.
Right.
In a lot of cases, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when we're trying to be productive and we're battling that, it makes everything 10 times harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't have a lot of answers though, besides the basic things that we both know.
yeah, and I mean, like, those are the things. And I'm walking, I lifted, you know what I mean? Like, those things are happening. But yeah, everything just feels a little harder right now. So I guess that was my whole point in this, is just to acknowledge, like, there are times that absolutely.
Well, I'm guessing
things
you're not
feel
alone.
a little heavy. No,
You know.
no, I know. I think, yeah, I agree with that. It's a challenge, right?
And those of you listening, if any of you listening are in the education field, you're also dealing with that right now, because end of year, and it's just a cycle that happens every year. I literally, about this time every year, go, yeah, retirement does sound good.
Yeah.
And then I'm done for a week, and then I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm ready. Let's go back. Let's go. Let's get after it. It's just what my brain needs a reset. And
well, it also shows you just kind of how much we are governed by these cycles that we're in, right?
and I like cycles. I am a huge cycle fan. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Need it bad.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. So I would love if you guys have any.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this, and just
even
kind
those of you listening that don't have metastatic cancer, that are you're just dropping by or whatever. I really want to get your 2 cents on this.
Yeah. And what do you do to kind of alleviate that heaviness? Did you find that there are things that maybe help you, or yeah, or ivy barks, or
Yeah.
I agree. All right. We'll see you next week. It'll be happier.
We'll see you next week, maybe. Bye.
See ya. Thanks so much for watching and being a part of our community. It means the world to us. Our goal is always to help as many people as possible live well with cancer. You can help us by subscribing to our channel and sharing episodes when you hear of others that could benefit from it. We really appreciate your time spent with us and your commitment to offering hope and inspiration to others.